Sooners right fielder to lead off, a 372 hitter. He's got no home runs but driven in 5. Gus, the Sooners come into this one after that game back on Monday night against Wichita State. They had a tough time against the Shockers.
Yeah, they really did. Wichita State put it on them, but I wouldn't be fooled by that. This Oklahoma ball club is very good offensively, despite just getting the one hit up there in Wichita on Monday night. I think that was a little bit of an outlier there.
Red Raiders are 20-3 here at Danlaw Field. Spikerman lifts that one up in the jet stream, and it's out of here. For the Sooners, Gus, that is the way to get a ball game started after a one-hit night at Wichita State. Spikerman leads off with a home run out of here to left field.
Spikerman's first home run of the year. We don't have a big wind. We've got a little bit of a wind blowing across from right to left, but he elevates that and sends it into the Sooner bullpen.
Wow, Morris, a little bit of an issue finding his control early on, and got that one where Spikerman, the freshman out of Montgomery, Texas, could get it and lifts it out of the ballpark. Sooners lead it 1-0. Oklahoma has won 13 games away from home. And this one may get out of the ballpark as well by Peyton Graham. Right at the wall, though, is Easton Morrell. Gus, the ball is really jumping out to left field.
Yeah, sure is. First 2 swings have had a little sizzle to them. Of course, we know this OU ball club can swing it. That breaking ball looked like Graham got just out in front of it and got it off the end a tad. And it ran Morrell all the way to the bullpen fence out there.
Got 2 of the top 3 hitting teams in the Big 12 in this matchup. The Red Raiders just behind Texas, and Oklahoma right there as well. This is Blake Robertson, 348 on the year. He's hit 3 home runs, has driven in 41.
John, at Big 12 play, Robertson, the OPS over 1,200. And of course, the addition of the slugging percentage and on-base percentage, he has been outstanding.
He was awfully good against the Red Raiders in that non-Big 12 game. These 2 teams played in Amarillo at Hodgetown Park back on April the 12th. They went 5 for 6 and had a home run in that game. Oklahoma won it.
For Morris, the fastball at 92 on the stadium radar gun there. That's about where he'll pitch.
That ball lined right at Stillwell at first base, and he makes the play there. But Gus Robertson right on it. Stillwell, a nice play.
You know, Robertson stays on an off-speed pitch nicely. Got that one down just off the end of the bat a little bit, but still sharply hit. Right on Stillwell, though.
Here's Oklahoma's cleanup batter, Tanner Treadaway. 5 home runs with a .337 average. He's driven home 49 this season. Senior out of Justin, Texas.
Moore starts him with a breaking ball right there. Treadaway went up there pumping, unable to hold up on that one.
Had 4 hits in their series last weekend against Wichita State, which Oklahoma won that series 2-1. 2 of those 4 hits were home runs for Treadaway.
Yeah, West Virginia got him in game 2 of that series, but the Sooners took games 1 and game 3, handled them pretty easily in those 2 ball games.
Swing and a miss at a breaking ball from Morris. That home run a moment ago by Spikerman to lead off the 7th allowed this season by Andrew Morris. Oklahoma with a 1-0 lead.
Morris has gotten a couple of swinging strikes on Treadaway in this sequence. Tried to get the breaking ball there. Get another chase. Treadaway does a nice job of holding up there.
That one grounded right back to Andrew on the mound. He'll flip it over to Stillwell. And the one pitch and one out for Bennett. Now Cole Stillwell. .316 hitter is the Red Raider first baseman. 8 home runs this season, 44 runs driven in. We've already seen the ball jumping out of here to left field. Swing and a miss by Cole.
A good change there by Bennett. The fastball early on here at 93 on the stadium radar gun.
Bennett, a freshman All-American during the COVID-shortened season of 2020. That foul ball from Stillwell will get out of play on the right side. All of his starts this season, that's Bennett, have been on the mound as the starter for Oklahoma.
A pretty big pull side shift here for Stillwell. Second baseman Nicholas almost to the shortstop side of the bag out there.
Not quite as dramatic on the shift as we've seen for Jace Young going the other direction, but yeah, they've shifted over for Stillwell. Junior out of Rockwall. He was 4 for 10 with a home run in that series against Oklahoma State. It was a grand slam in game 1.
They're shading him to pull in the outfield as well. Treadaway a couple of steps around toward left field.
Bennett just off the plate with that offering, and Stillwell does not chase.
Another good change there by Bennett.
Red Raiders do strike out a bit, but they also find ways to get on base. Stillwell bloops this ball into shallow right field. Long run there, and diving to make the play is Spikerman. Can't hang on to the ball. And the official down the first base line calling that a fair ball. That's Scott Johnston.
Yeah, Johnston.
And if Spikerman tries to make the play, he's stepping on the line down the right field line.
Yeah, Johnston's right on that call. He's straddling the line and getting a good look at it, and that's his call. Obviously, there you see the umpires headed in for a review. Boy, that was very close. Spikerman nearly made a whale of a play. We had talked about it a couple pitches earlier. They were shading him around to pull, so Spikerman had a long way to go to get to that ball.
Man, does that not look like a pop-up in the Red Raider Oklahoma State series that landed on the line?
Yes, absolutely, it did.
That's exactly.
The Cowboys had the ball hit on the chalk.
Yes,
lifts some white. Boy, Spikerman really covers a bunch of ground there, and he secures the ball until he hits the ground right there, and then it pops out. All the while, Cole Stillwell running, and he's standing on. Well, he's standing on first base at the moment, but I believe this is going to be a double if the call stands. Very close.
Well, he had gone to second base in the course of that play and is now back over at first, but the umpires are reviewing that pop-up into short right field. We'll take another look at it. As Spikerman on the long run. Nicholas at second base can't quite get there. Looks like that ball might have come down on the line had Spikerman not gotten the glove on it, and as he turns over there after making the catch, the ball comes out of the glove. The call is going to stand, and Cole Stillwell becomes the Red Raiders' first base runner of this game. The question, Gus, what base is he going to be on?
He's over there in a prolonged conversation with Eric Gutierrez there at first base, but I could have sworn he was standing on second.
And the umpires are going to send him down there, yes.
I think he was just over there conversing with Gutierrez during the video review. And Scott Johnson, the first base umpire, was right on that call. Can't say he was out of position.
It's the home plate umpire, John Bramer, that points to second base and sends Cole Stillwell there. So the Red Raiders, who trail 1-0, have a runner in scoring position with Jace Young at the plate. .358 on the average. He's got 13 home runs. That leads this team. 93 on the first pitch from Bennett. Jace has 14 hits against left-handed pitching this season.
That infield playing him to pull.
Nobody holding Cole Stillwell at second base with that shift.
Peyton Graham, the shortstop, playing at what is normally a second base type position, and he's the one that's sort of hanging around Stillwell there at the bag, but Stillwell not much of a threat to run. They're shading him a step or two around to left field in the outfield. Nicholas, the second baseman, playing that rover spot out in shallow right field.
Jace goes the other way with it down the line in left field. That'll score a run. The ball is just inside the foul line in the left field corner. Jace, a double. Stillwell comes around, and this ball game is tied.
Well, the first one was blooped. This one not so much. Young able to keep the hands inside the barrel, square this ball up pretty good. Pitch got in on him just a little, but still stung pretty well. Drops it just inside the line, rolls it down there into the corner. Stillwell scores easily.
Jace had 4 hits against Oklahoma State, and that came late in that series. Gets this series off to a good start with a hit in his first at-bat. The double brings Ty Coleman, the Red Raiders DH, to the plate. There's a called strike one. Junior from Midland comes to the Red Raiders after 3 seasons at Texas A&M. Boy, hits that one well to left field, and the ballpark is not going to hold it. Pettis can't get there because that one lands well beyond the outfield wall. And again, Gus, the jet stream to left field, this time favors the Red Raiders. Jace Young scores ahead of Ty Coleman, and Texas Tech has 3 runs here in the bottom of the first.
Yeah, Coleman really barrels this ball up and hits it a ton. I'm not sure that, obviously the wind's helping everything going out to that direction, but this ball's hit a ton as it was. You see Pettis just take a couple steps and watch that thing go as it lands across the street over there in the engineering parking lot.
8th home run of the year for Ty Coleman, and he knew that one was gone early. A tough guy to strike out, and he can hit the ball well in that DH spot for the Red Raiders, and he did there. 3-1 now. Red Raiders have jumped back out in front of the Sooners. Here's Kurt Wilson, the Red Raiders RBI leader with 60.
Ty Coleman with now 8 home runs on the year, just 2 of them in Big 12 play. That one there, the second. Picked a good time for it.
Yes, he did. Wilson pokes that one foul. Behind at the count at 0-2. Kurt's the guy that got the Grand Slam party going against Texas. Man, that was big for the Red Raiders to begin their Big 12 play. Goes down swinging against Bennett here.
Bennett with a nice sequence there. To the bloop double and then the double and a long home run. He resets himself, and in that sequence threw some nice off-speed stuff away for foul ball strikes, and then able to get Wilson on the fastball up and in.
Here's the young guy, Owen Washburn. freshman out of Webster, Wisconsin. He, like Jace Young, gets the Sooners defense to shift the right field direction. Nicholas playing not quite as deep in right field for Jace Young, but he's out that direction.
Yep, kind of that deep second base. That's probably not deep enough to call it the full-on rover position, but definitely playing him to pull, shading him a step or two in the outfield, not as extreme as it is in the infield.
Washburn got his first year of collegiate baseball off to a great start. No argument about his play from Oklahoma State for sure. Had 6 hits, including a grand slam home run. Goes the other direction, past Clark at third base into the left field corner. And Washburn has the Red Raiders' 4th hit of the inning.
Pettis does a nice job here cutting this off. We mentioned the infield shift. Clark had taken a couple steps toward shortstop, but Pettis cutting that ball off and scurrying it into second base quickly. Holds Washburn to a long single. Nicely done there.
Here's Hudson White. He's the 7th Red Raider to bat here in the bottom half of the 1st inning. 3 runs in for Tim Tadlock's team. Red Raiders, as compared to Oklahoma, Gus, not that much of a threat to run on the bases.
Yeah, this Oklahoma ball club probably more offensive than West Virginia, but they run as well as West Virginia. A ton of stolen bases.
Red Raiders have been pretty successful. They're 27 of 30 on the year, but Oklahoma State with 118 good stolen bases of their own.
Yeah, not the attempts.
No.
The Sooners have really transformed themselves from where they were last year as a running team. There's a good reason for that. We'll talk about it in a little bit.
Hudson White, like fellow freshman Washburn, who is at first base, had 6 hits against Oklahoma State. Home run and a double. Drove in 4 runs in that series.
White has carried an important load for this Red Raider ball club, either playing catcher or first base all year long. He and Stillwell swapping out. Big load for a freshman.
Boy, and both White and Washburn have been up to that challenge for sure.
Yeah, I would imagine both of those guys are up for freshman type honors.
Hudson 9 for 11 with a home run in the Red Raiders series against Kansas earlier this year.
And what I mean by freshman honors, freshman all-conference, newcomer type recognition, perhaps freshman all-American type recognition. Hudson White hitting .360 in Big 12 play.
Yeah, 27 hits are the 2nd most on this team in Big 12 play. That'll tell you how effective he has been at the plate. Doesn't chase there. Count goes to full at 3-2.
Well, now Washburn will be moving. Full count, 2 outs. Robertson's going to hang near the bag, keep Washburn close. They're shading him a step or two to pull in the infield, but not an extreme shift.
Swing and a miss. 9 a.m. Central Time, and we'll play until Sunday. You can join us at Globe Life Field in Arlington. It's Crooks, Clark, and Squires for Oklahoma here against Andrew Morris in the top of the 2nd inning. Spikerman led off the ball game for the Sooners with a home run off of Morris, but the Red Raiders come back with 3 in their half of the 1st, and here we are, top half of the 2nd. Crooks is the Oklahoma catcher, a .298 average. He's hit 3 home runs, 29 driven in.
Crooks with 40 walks on the year. That's a pretty good total. The on-base percentage, .455. That walk total obviously second to Blake Robertson, who leads all of Division I baseball in walks this season.
A couple of guys in this one who have walked a lot.
Yeah, him and Jace Young.
Yeah.
Andrew Brothers rookie foul ball.
Jace is third in the country in walks, and Robertson is number one. And got him. Andrew Morris sneaks inside against Crooks, who watches a called strike three. That's the first strikeout tonight for Andrew Morris.
Yeah, some off-speed stuff earlier in that sequence really sets that fastball up. Morris able to paint the inside corner and freeze Crooks for the third strike.
Here's Wallace Clark, Oklahoma's third baseman. Freshman out of Tulsa. An outstanding high school pitcher. Won a state championship at Holland Hall. Quickly finds himself behind to Andrew Morris. A lot of umpires in the seats here at Danlaw Field at Griffin Park thought that should have been strike two.
Yeah, Morris trying to finish Clark like he did Crooks. That fastball in under the hands.
Came right back. Breaking ball hit right at Jace Young. Couple of steps to his left. Jace reaches out, makes that play, and there are two away.
Good piece of hitting there by Clark, staying on that breaking ball, barreling it. Just an atom ball. That's the way it goes.
Here's the Sooners' designated hitter, Brett Squires. 5 home runs this season, 26 driven in.
Squires, another one of these Sooners that wore the Red Raiders out up at Amarillo. He had a big day up there a month ago.
Pretty good series against West Virginia, too. That ball is foul, but he's the co-player of the week in the Big 12. 6 for 8 against the Mountaineers, a home run, a double. Drove in 7 runs for Oklahoma as they won 2 of 3 against West Virginia to find themselves with 13 wins in the Big 12. Again, if they sweep Texas Tech in this series, they would tie TCU at the top of the league race.
Yeah, I can't say that I recall another season, and I'll confess to not having looked at this, but another season in which 4 teams had a shot at the title coming into the last week.
Two and two the count. Yeah, that is interesting that it has worked out that way.
Yeah, we'll obviously keep an eye on the other series that has implications this weekend, standings implications, I guess championship implications, is Oklahoma State playing Baylor in Waco. We'll keep an eye on that score for you.
2-2 pitch for Morris on the way, breaking ball. Woohoo. Squires takes that one. The count is full, but Gus close.
Yeah, Morris really backing off of that breaking ball, throwing the big downer curveball.
Do it again at 3-2. There are 2 outs for the Sooners and nobody on.
Well, both of these ball clubs able to put 9 guys out there that are tough outs. The Sooners got off to a little bit of a slow start offensively through the first couple weeks of the season, and then they have been wearing it out ever since.
Yeah, the last 40 games they've averaged just under 9 runs a game. Swing and a miss. Big 12 championship. If the Red Raiders lose a ball game and Oklahoma State don't win 3 times, does that make sense to you guys?
Yes, it does.
Otherwise, if Oklahoma and Oklahoma State win 3 games this weekend, they are both 16-8 along with TCU. Here's Parker Kelly to lead off in the bottom of the second, and a towering fly ball into right field that Spikerman will make the play on.
Yeah, and there are some very believable scenarios in which we have not just co-champs, but tri-champs, I guess if that's the word.
Yeah.
But a three-way tie.
You've got 6 teams in the Big 12 going into this final weekend with double-digit wins. Dylan Carter, the 9-hole hitter for the Red Raiders, at the plate now with 1 out. But West Virginia and Texas each have 11 victories. Oklahoma State 13. The Red Raiders have 14 and TCU 16.
Oklahoma State out to a 2-1 lead there in Waco early in that ball game there in the second.
Red Raiders are 7-2 in home Big 12 games. This ball lined into right field. Dylan Carter has a hit. Dropped that one in front of Spikerman, but hit it well off of Bennett. And the Red Raiders with 1 out have a base runner.
Yeah, Bennett goes to the breaking ball there. This breaking ball up and out over the plate. Handled well by Dylan Carter and ripped into right field.
Carter has struggled some at the plate with a 190 average, but his first trip up tonight, the single to right field, and now back to the top of the order for the Red Raiders with Easton Morrell. He hit one right back up the middle in his first at bat. It was deflected by Bennett, and Peyton Graham fielded that ball out near second base and threw out Morrell at first.
They'll shade him to pull in the infield, not an extreme shift, but Graham over toward the bag at second. There's definitely a wide open left side of the infield.
That ground ball hit hard towards first base, deflected by Robertson. He'll make the play there, though, as Nicholas gets the deflection and gets it back to him to get Morrell, but Dylan Carter gets down to second base. Guess this ball just hit really hard to a first baseman who was up just a bit with a runner there.
Yeah, Morrell's pinball and baseballs around the infield. That's a 1.63 in his first at bat, and I guess that one goes down as a 3.43. Twice he's hit balls on the button that have been banged around the infield and gone for outs.
Yeah, how many times do three?
Yeah.
Three, although in that case it's the same guy twice,
yeah.
But still, both ground balls have touched at least 3 gloves. Cole Stillwell here with a foul ball that drops down the right field side.
Yeah,
Spikerman can't get there.
Stillwell's had some success with that bloop double. He's trying to go back to the well there. Dylan Carter out at second, runs well. He'll obviously be moving on contact with 2 outs.
Red Raiders do have a couple of doubles, one of them from Stillwell in the bottom of the first. But Spikerman made a long run for, got his glove on the ball, but falling to the turf in foul territory at that point, couldn't hang on. This one's going to get down in right center field. Treadaway is not going to get there. That is a long single for Cole Stillwell, and the Red Raiders' Dylan Carter coming around to make it 4-1.
Yeah, again, Carter not having to hold up there with 2 outs. He doesn't have to wait on that ball to see if Treadaway's got a shot at playing it. Treadaway does a nice job of cutting it off and getting it into second base.
There's Dylan Carter to make it 4-1 Red Raiders. Cole Stillwell has a 2-for-2 night. Now Jace Young with 2 outs. The shift on by the Sooners. Jace went the other way in that bottom half of the first inning, went down the left field line. His double scored Stillwell to make it 1-1 at that time. Bennett going right after the Red Raiders second baseman in the swing and the miss.
If you're just tuning in, the wind, a very, very hot day here today. Temperatures up around 100 degrees. Obviously cooling off as the sun's setting a little bit, with the wind blowing across from right to left. Not a big wind, but it does affect the flight of the ball a little bit. Yeah, interestingly, we're going to have 100 and then maybe a high 90s tomorrow, and then
about
Saturday
70.
afternoon. Yeah, Saturday afternoons, the temperatures in the high 70s. Might be refreshing after a couple of heaters.
I'll say. Gus, we've been here earlier in this season where it was overcoat weather.
Yeah, that's kind of the normal course of the baseball season, isn't it?
Much difference does that make it for a pitcher to hang on to that ball?
Yeah, I would think. Well, I just know when I was a player, I was definitely more comfortable playing in 100 than I was in 45. There's no doubt about that.
Not going to be quite that chilly on Saturday, but it will be a far cry from the 100+ temperatures today here in Lubbock.
Yeah, I was joking with somebody the other day at lunch. Like I think we skipped the 80s this year. We went from 60s and a few pleasant weekends there in the 70s, and then we jumped into the 90s, and now we've bumped a couple of hundreds. And maybe we'll get those 80s back here in the next couple of weeks.
About December.
Yeah, that's probably right.
2-2 to Jace Young. Trying to get Jace with that breaking ball.
Bennett's shown him a couple here in this sequence.
He doesn't fit the description or size of a crafty left-hander.
No, I wouldn't think so. The thing he is a strike, though. We talked about that pregame. Those a ton of strikes.
3-2 pitch, runner goes, and it's outside. Jace Young getting a little closer to Robertson in that walk mark. 2 on now for the Red Raiders.
Yeah, there was a time about a month ago in which Young was leading the country in walks. And now Robertson has passed him.
54th walk for Jace Young. Now Ty Coleman, who hit a 2-run homer in that bottom half of the first inning. He's got 2 on. Pettis in left and Treadaway in center are pretty deep. This ball's hit, towering ball into right center field. Wind may hold it up a bit. Spikerman is there to make the play in the inning.
Couple weeks, and those are starting to mean a little bit more as that first pitch just misses off the plate. A good change up there to start Nicholas.
8-9-1 for Oklahoma here against Andrew Morris, Jackson, Nicholas, Kendall, Pettis, and back to the top of the order in Spikerman. Red Raiders have hosted 5 consecutive NCAA regionals here in Lubbock. They've gotten themselves right back into the mix, Gus, with that sweep at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and about 3 weeks ago, John, there was projections that had the Red Raiders as a 3 seed in the tournament.
Nicholas gives that ball a pretty good ride to right field, and it is long gone over the Red Raider bullpen. Just as Spikerman did to lead off in the top half of the first inning, Nicholas leads off with a towering home run to right field here in the top of the third. His 8th home run of the year, but this is no doubter. Washburn gave up the chase early.
Yeah, Nicholas was out in front of a changeup a pitch or 2 earlier, but here gets a breaking ball with the heart of the plate and did not miss it as it clears the Red Raider bullpen out there in right field.
Second home run of the night for Oklahoma. The Red Raiders have one from Ty Coleman. So 8 hits in this game combined, 3 for home runs. And now Kendall Pettis.
A couple of good offensive ball clubs. We're going to say that a bunch this weekend. These 2 clubs can swing it.
Both of Oklahoma's hits, in fact, are home runs in this ball game. Pettis had their only hit in their Monday night loss at Wichita State. They lost that one big, Gus, 18-0.
Yeah, that was really a surprise. Wichita State been a bit of a struggle for them this year, but they really put it on the Sooners there on Monday night in Wichita. And we'll say this about Pettis, as we will several of these guys. You don't want to free pass him. 17 stolen bases this year.
6 of them in Big 12 play. 3-1 the count from Andrew Morris, who doesn't walk many. That ball hit right back up the middle. Dylan Carter will field it in center field, and Oklahoma's got their 2nd hit of the inning. And first non-home run of this night. Top of the order now, it's Spikerman.
John Spikerman.
Spikerman came in .372 on the year, but .433 batting average in Big 12 play.
The dimensions in this ballpark: 402 to center, 380 in the gaps, and 327 down both lines.
Not quite big enough on a night where the wind is blowing over to the left field side.
Yeah, it's certainly not quite big enough out there in left field. The ball's going to carry out that direction at least for a little while longer. Sometimes when it cools down and gets dark, the wind will lay down. We shall see.
Runner goes. Hudson White double pumped a couple of times, but never threw the ball and Pettis into scoring position.
Yeah, breaking ball down and out of the zone. White was reaching for that. Looked like he couldn't quite get a grip on it. Pettis with a good jump, and now he's in position to score here.
119th stolen base of the year for the Sooners. That pitch fouled away. Gus, we've talked about Andrew Morris before, but not a lot of motion in his windup, either with or without runners. And Pettis going again. He's down to third base without a throw.
Pettis again getting a really good pitch to run on there. Breaking ball down and out of the strike zone. Read that pitch well. He was moving on the pitch as it was, but breaking ball in the dirt. Blocked, and that was all Hudson White could do with it. Now, ground ball in the infield should score this run.
That ball's hit pretty hard right at Cole Stillwell. He'll make the play himself at first base, but you're right, Pettis with the ground ball scores from third. The Sooners have drawn within one.
Yeah, the single stolen base sets up that run.
First out of the inning for Oklahoma. Now Peyton Graham. Graham flied out to left, and it was deep as Easton Morrell drifted back onto the warning track to make a catch. Cold strike. Peyton Graham in his 116th career game as a Sooner tonight. He started all but one of those. So he has been a fixture for Skip Johnson's team. Swing and a miss though on that 1-2 pitch. And Andrew Morris gets his third strikeout of the night.
Boy, it felt like Graham was looking off speed on those last two pitches. Morris just pumped fastballs by him. A little tardy on both of those. Might have been looking off speed. As we know, he can catch up to that fastball.
Has 13 home runs. Yes, he can. Here's Blake Robertson. Nobody on and 2 outs here in the top of the third, but 2 runs across for the Sooners. That ball's hit pretty well as well. Stillwell tried to reach out for it but could not get there. It'll be a double for Blake Robertson as Washburn runs it down right up against the wall there in right field. 3 hits in the inning off Andrew Morris. Gussie got all of this one too. Got the barrel on the ball.
Yes, indeed. Gets an off-speed pitch. tattoos it down into the corner.
Now batting for
I'm
the
telling
Sooners,
you,
number 10, Tanner Treadaway.
these two teams can put together some at-bats.
First double of the night by an Oklahoma batter. The Red Raiders have 2. Now another runner in scoring position for Oklahoma. If they can find a way to get him in, that would tie the game. Tanner Treadaway grounded out as he hit the ball right back to Morris in the first inning. Already 50 pitches by Andrew Morris. He's gone over 100 in that complete game. But Gus, a long way to go on a very hot night.
Both of these starters with elevated pitch totals through 3 innings.
Just inside to Treadaway.
Hudson White stuck that pitch and showed a little emotion there. I think he wanted that pitch. John Brammer said it was just in off the plate. Tech dugout barking a little bit, asking where that pitch was.
Do it again there, breaking ball, and that is a towering fly ball into shallow center field. Drifting over a bit, but Dylan Carter is there to make.
I'll figure if they win, figure to host in the regional and the super regional. Boy, Tennessee and Oregon State have been in the driver's seat throughout most of the year, certainly down the stretch here.
D1 baseball has the Red Raiders ranked 5th in the country at the moment. They are a projected 15 national seed, but you never know what might happen this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that's at stake, especially when you're hanging right down there at the 15-16 mark. You're on a bubble of sorts. Of course, Oklahoma State was projected there up in the 10-11 range. Be great to see those Big 12 clubs hosting, and hopefully we can match up with several of them in Omaha in a few weeks.
Kurt Wilson leading off for the Red Raiders here in the bottom of the 3rd. Tech in front 4-3 over Oklahoma. Kurt struck out against Bennett back in the first inning. "60 runs driven in by the Red Raiders shortstop this season, 28 of those in Big 12 play. Both of those are most on the team, most overall this season, and those 28 in Big 12 play leads this team. Ground ball right at Peyton Graham. And that throw across the diamond in time. Wilson retired.
Peyton Graham, a very good arm. To stay back on that ground ball. Shows that strong arm and throws a strike over there for the first out. Good looking player.
Here's Owen Washburn. Sooners go into that shift for the Red Raiders right fielder. But he went the opposite way first time up. Swinging through that off-speed pitch. Red Raiders have scored in each of the first 2 innings of this ball game. Red Raiders with 20 wins here at Dan Law Field at Rip Griffin Park this season. 20-3 overall. At home, they are 19-0 when they score 3 or more runs, Gus. They're already past that mark.
Yeah, I think most of these teams have a magic number like that. Once you get up around 5 or 6, they're tough to beat. Bennett went back to the breaking ball there. Spun that one up and in. He's able to crowd Washburn with a fastball. You can see Washburn really get into a 2-strike adjustment. He widens out that stance quite a bit. Gets down in his legs a little more.
His 59 strikeouts this season are second most on this team. Got him. Swinging through that pitch from Jake Bennett. That's 2 outs now for the Red Raiders. Gus, it's still a young guy adjusting to play at this level.
Oh, no doubt about it. You can see Wash frustrated, unable to wait on that off-speed delivery.
Here's catcher Hudson White for the Red Raiders, ranked 5th in the country. Also a strikeout victim in his only trip to the plate tonight. Hudson had that slow start this season with 1 hit in his first 21 at-bats, but now his 27 hits in Big 12 play are second most on this team. He has come a very long way.
Yes, indeed. Hudson White, the infield playing to pull a step or two, and they're shading him around to right in the outfield by a couple of steps. Very deep in center field is Treadway.
Hudson didn't offer on that 2-0 pitch, but a called strike. 2-1 pitch could bring rain. If there were clouds, he hit that one a mile high. Peyton Graham.
Quite a weekend of baseball here with Big 12 implications all over it.
6 Sooners in that starting lineup tonight with batting averages over 300. 5, 6, and 7. Jimmy Crooks to lead off. Clark and Squires due up after that. Crooks struck out looking against Andrew Morris in his first trip to the plate, that in the 2nd inning. Outstanding catcher who transferred to the Sooners after a stay at McLennan College. Had 1 hit against the Red Raiders in a series a year ago where Tech took 2 out of 3, but that 1 hit was a home run. Got him. Off-speed pitch, and Crooks goes down with the strikeout for the 2nd time.
Yeah, that big downer breaking ball there from Morris. He's able to get the chase. White blocks it up and puts the tag on Crooks for the first out here.
4th strikeout of the night for the Red Raiders starter Andrew Morris. Yeah, Oklahoma won the first game of the series last year. Then Texas Tech came back to win the next 2. And that was a long ball series for the Red Raiders. Tech hit 12 home runs in those 3 games.
Last year was a struggle for the Sooners. They finished below 500 in league play, below 500 in their overall year standings. But boy, they have done a tremendous job of transforming this ball club.
Swing and a miss by Clark. He lined out to Jace Young back in the 2nd inning. And the similarities are interesting, Gus. Tech went into that series against Oklahoma a year ago with 31 wins and were ranked 7th in the country. They've got 35 starting this weekend with a number 5 ranking. That ball hit towards Jace Young. Red Raiders second baseman makes the play to Stillwell, and they're 2 away here in the top of the 4th.
Morris able to get the fastball in under the hands of Clark and jam him. A little weak roller there. I think Young's first impulse was to stay back on that ground ball.
Squires struck out in his first trip, but co-player of the week in the Big 12 for his weekend against West Virginia. The Red Raiders have the newcomer of the week in Owen Washburn. Well, he had a great weekend against Oklahoma State. Squires outstanding against West Virginia. Putting both these teams in a position, Gus, to as we've talked about, either win outright or share a portion of the Big 12 title.
Yeah, I imagine both of these coaches would take that if you had told them at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
We're going to head into the final weekend with the shot at the title.
Sooners went in order in the second inning with these same three batters, Crooks, Clark, and now Squires. And can Andrew Morris do it again? Get the Red Raider bats back to the plate and try to extend a one-run lead.
Both of these ball clubs opened their season in Arlington. Didn't play against each other, but obviously got to see each other play. So next week, next Wednesday, when they open play down there at the Big 12 tournament, it won't be their first trip. The Sooners played an extra weekend down there, I believe, due to weather. They moved the game over there to Arlington. Got in under the roof, able to get some baseball games in there in late February. That breaking ball misses just up and out of the strike zone.
Trying to do it again, and a swing and a miss by Squires. Strikes out for the second time in the ball game, $5, and they're available in all sections of Jones AT&T stadiums. You can select the exact seat location by contacting the ticket sales office. So buy your season tickets online today at texastech.com or call 806-742-TECH. Bottom half of the fourth, the Red Raiders buy a run with Parker Kelly to lead off, Dylan Carter to follow, and then back to the top of the order and Easton Morrell. Parker 0 for 1 tonight, flied out to right field. That ball nubbed down towards first base, and Robertson off the end of the bat, and Robertson will make the play. Gus, you can just hear that. It just doesn't sound like that ball's going anywhere.
Yeah, a little clunker over there out in front of an off-speed pitch. Off the end of the bat, rolled over there to Robertson.
So one away now as Bennett retires the leadoff hitter here in the bottom half of the fourth inning, and Dylan Carter, who singled into right field in the second inning. May have his second single of the night. Diving play by Nicholas at second base, but is not going to get the speedy Dylan Carter. Outstanding defensive play to knock that ball down and get it, but Dylan Carter is 2 for 2 tonight.
Yeah, Nicholas having to go back a bit to play that, and you see him diving basically in a direction out toward left center. It's a whale of a play, but Carter runs too well for that. He had jumped on a breaking ball for the base hit in his previous at bat. This time goes up there hunting a first pitch fastball and shoots it back through the middle for his second hit of the day.
Red Raiders have a base runner with one out. At the top of the order in Easton Morrell. Morrell just hoping wherever he hits the ball, it doesn't involve 3 gloves by Oklahoma players.
Pinging the ball around the infield so far. Hit 2 balls pretty sharply. Doesn't have a hit to show for it.
Swing and a miss there. His first time up tonight, he hit a ground ball right back up the middle. It deflected off the glove of Bennett. Graham at shortstop fielded it after that and got the ball over to first base in time for the out. His second time up, a shot off first baseman Blake Robertson's glove, grabbed by Nicholas at second, and then back to Robertson for the out. Red Raiders have hit into 34 double plays this season. Very speedy Dylan Carter at first base. That play by Nicholas a moment ago, Gus, there are some Red Raiders that would not have gotten to first base in time, but Dylan Carter is pretty quick out of the box.
You are absolutely correct on that. Whale of a play by Nicholas. Had there been a base runner on, he would have saved bases. What a heck of a play.
Yeah, somebody would have been all the way around to third base if he had not gotten that ball in a different situation.
You bet. Or if there's a guy at second, he saves a run. Heck of an effort.
Three and one, the count to Morrell. It's up and in, ball 4. In fact, may have hit him.
Yeah, it was going to be ball 4 either way, but Morrell maybe just padding his stats there. Is that now the 23rd time he's been hit by a pitch on the year?
Talk about a couple of guys who walked to get on in Robertson and Jace Young, but Morrell doing it the hard way this season. Yeah, he has taken his share of hit by pitches.
Yeah, I mean, it's 40. That now 44 free passes on the year when you add the walks and hit by pitches together.
Here's Scholes-Tillwell with 2 Red Raiders on. He doubled in the first and would score the Red Raiders' first run.
For most guys, you've got a walk total and then maybe a handful of hit by pitches sprinkled in. For Morrell, he's got more hit by pitches than walks.
You know, and now his 23rd time to be hit by a pitch, but that ranks only 9th in the country. Somebody's getting hit a lot.
I know.
That ball hit really hard down towards third. Clark makes the play there. This might be a double play. Across to Robertson, and it is. Long stretch there, but Stillwell thinks. I think the umpiring crew's got a reservation for dinner later on tonight. Here's Jackson Nicholas lining the first pitch he sees from Andrew Morris in right field for a single.
And Nicholas jumping on a first pitch change there and able to barrel it and bang it into right field for the base hit.
He's got a 2-for-2 night going. Hit that home run to lead off in the third. Setting up a bit like that inning. The Sooners scored a couple of times off Andrew Morris. Nicholas hit a home run. Pettis singled into center field, and here he is again. 3 hits so far from the 8 and 9 hole hitters in this Oklahoma lineup. I think that'll tell you just what kind of night we've got going on.
Talked about the good looking freshman from the Red Raiders. Well, the Sooners had the same thing going in Nicholas, Spikerman, Clark.
Pettis lays down the bunt. Morris has to come off of the mound to field it, and Stillwell off as he had begun to try and make a play on that ball as well, and Morris has got to run all the way to first base with the ball.
Pettis trying to push that one past the mound. Those two do a nice job. No panic there from Morris. He's able to glove it and just stays on his path over there to first. Job well done by Pettis to get Nicholas down to second.
Yeah, he wanted to toss that ball over to Stillwell, but Cole not there as he was trying to get in position to make a play on the ball if it had gotten past Morris. But Nicholas is in scoring position now for Oklahoma at second base. And the top of the order is up for the Sooners. Spikerman 1 for 2 with a home run and a ground ball to Stillwell that scored Pettis in the third. Red Raiders run that play well.
Yes, they do. It's something they work on a lot. You see them do it. They attempt that usually a couple times in every ball game.
Cold strike. Both these teams find a lot of ways to get on base. The Sooners' on base percentage, .420, leads the Big 12. Got a runner in scoring position at second. 1 out. But 0-2 to Spikerman. Top of the 5th. Red Raiders on top by a run. Morris 68 pitches.
Look at the Sooners season offensive statistics, and then you look at their Big 12 statistics. Usually the Big 12 statistics are a little lighter than the season stats, but boy, for the Sooners, that's not the case. This ball club, 437 on base, 510 the slugging, and Big 12 play, that's a 947 mark. Really impressive in conference play.
Spikerman stays alive. Three runs on 5 hits for Oklahoma. No errors, 4 runs, 7 hits by the Red Raiders. That ball is foul.
Mentioned OU haven't played in Arlington. Obviously on opening weekend, and then they had a second weekend there in late February in which they moved the series there. They also played the Longhorns there. Forgot about that.
Yes.
I believe that was the weekend after the Longhorns were here in Lubbock to open Big 12 play.
They do have 13 wins away from home. 13 of their 31. Swing and a miss, went upstairs, did Morris, and Spikerman chased it. 6 strikeouts now for the Red Raider starter.
Batting for the Sooners, number 20, Peyton Graham.
Gus, it's just hard to lay off.
Yeah, it sure is, and especially after a couple of good off-speed pitches earlier in that sequence. And I think Spikerman was in a protect mode and a swing mode. Morris able to get him to chase, climb the ladder a little bit.
Here's Peyton Graham. He's flied out and struck out in 2 trips. Goes after that first pitch from Andrew Morris, fouled it back. Top 4 hitters in this Oklahoma lineup now are 2 for 9. One of those hits Spikerman's home run to lead off this ball game. Their 8 and 9 hole hitters are 3 for 4 and have scored 2 of their 3 runs. A 94-mile-an-hour fastball just off the plate from Andrew Morris. Tying run is at second. That's Jackson Nicholas. He's 2 for 2 in this ball game. Single to right, move to second on the bunt, out by Pettis. Tonight, the 13th start for Andrew Morris. In those previous 12 appearances, most of those as a starting pitcher. The Red Raiders are 11-1 with Morris on the mound. Gus, Tim Tadlock hit the gold mine with Andrew Morris.
Yes, he did. Morris was highly sought after, and a guy that probably had professional opportunities had he sought that, but Morris wanted a crack at Division I baseball, and he's getting it this year. Second year in a row the Red Raiders have gotten an impact guy out of a lower division of baseball. Is Patrick Monteverdi. This time last year it was very good for the Red Raiders, and if I remember correctly, he is playing in the Marlins organization, and I imagine this time next year Andrew Morris will be plying his trade professionally.
3-1 pitch is hit really well. Peyton Graham's got the 3rd home run tonight for Oklahoma, and the Sooners have gone in front as he gets all of that 3-1 pitch from Andrew Morris, his 14th home run of the year. It's now 5-4 Sooners.
You know, we thought Graham in the previous at bat had struck out and was a little tardy to fastballs. I think Graham has done a really good job of staying to the off-speed stuff. This is a 3-1 breaking ball. He is looking for it and tattoos it out there by the guard shack beyond left field. That ball
looked like
really
the exit
well hit.
speed off that bat was about 900 miles an hour. Man, it
Ball
took off.
smoked. Yes, sir.
3 of the 6 hits tonight by the Sooners have left the yard. They are in front of the hometown Red Raiders 5-4. We are in the top half of the 5th inning. Here's Blake Robertson. He doubled in the 3rd but was stranded at second base. Breaking ball on 0-2 stays up just a bit for Morris. Those 7 wins he's got coming in against Merrimack, Rice, Kansas, Kansas State, West Virginia, Baylor, and the big one last Friday night against Oklahoma State. That ball nubbed towards third, and Parker Kelly on the move, throw across the diamond is in time, is still.
It's going to be that way this entire weekend. It's hard to imagine somebody having a nifty 90 pitch complete game today.
Yeah.
I mean, here this weekend.
3, 4, and 5 for the Red Raiders. Jace Young to lead off and fooled by that pitch.
And Bennett going to a left on left change there. The key with that pitch is it's got to be down and out of the strike zone, not down and out of the strike zone. It's got to be down in the strike zone. That pitch well executed.
Jace Young doesn't strike out a lot, but he does get on base in a lot of ways, whether with a hit or a walk. He lined that one hard down the right field line, but it is a bit foul there in the corner. One and 2 from Jake Bennett, the Oklahoma starter. His longest outing of the season, 7 1/3 against Baylor. Jace gives that one a ride into center field. Long run there and diving at the end. Tanner Treadaway to make the play. That just hung up a little bit too long for Jace Young.
You know, I think Treadaway's initial read on that, of course, these guys are playing very young for very deep for Jace Young. His first read was that ball was hit a little bit better than it was, but Treadaway able to adjust his route and really come in and make a nice sliding catch there.
Coleman, you saw a moment ago, hit one pretty well back in the 1st inning. A 2-run homer to put the Red Raiders in front in this ball game at that time.
West Virginia shifted Coleman like this in the infield, and he was able to roll a couple ground balls through the right side for base hits. And the Mountaineers actually backed off of that shift. Of course, we're talking about 3 weeks ago, the last time the Red Raiders were at home. The Sooners staying with the heavy pull side shift in the infield here.
Talking about a guy that is difficult to strike out, that is Ty Coleman. Only 20 strikeouts this season in 188 at-bats. Ground ball to third. Clark makes the play there after the big hop, and Coleman is retired. That's 2 away here in the Red Raider 5th inning.
Now batting for the Red Raiders, number 8, Kurt Wilson.
Now Kurt Wilson, who is 0 for 2 tonight with the strikeout and the ground out.
Jake Bennett's really settled down after the first couple innings. The 3 in the first, the 1 in the second. Really the only trouble he had since then was 2 on and an out in the 4th, but he got the double play ball to get out of that jam. He's clicking right along here.
Retired the Red Raiders in order in the 3rd and has a chance here in the 5th. 2-1 to the Red Raiders shortstop. The Texas Tech batting order tonight featuring 6 batters with an average over 300, just like the Sooners.
And that's the Andrews Brothers rookie foul ball.
Always intriguing to see how our conference is going to match up. The Big 12 will match up once you get into postseason play. Who's going to do what? Well, feels like there's some good offensive clubs here in the league this year.
That ball will come down in foul territory back behind first base, and Robertson is there to make the play in the Red Raiders. Tanner Treadaway in the 4-hole to lead off. After that, it's Crooks and Clark for Oklahoma. That ball's hit pretty well into left center field. Dylan Carter is back, and again, it's out of here. Tanner Treadway has led off here in the top of the 6th inning with the home run. It's the 3rd leadoff home run tonight by Oklahoma.
Like he got an off-speed pitch. Up and out over the plate. Did not miss it. Driving it over the Raising Cane sign out there in deep left center field.
Dylan Carter watching it the entire way, but ran out of room. And now Jimmy Crooks may do the same thing. This ball hit pretty well to left field as well, and it is into the Sooner bullpen. Back-to-back home runs. Treadaway first, now Jimmy Crooks, who was 0 for 2 with the pair of strikeouts. But 5 of Oklahoma's 8 hits have been home runs. This is Wallace Clark, 0 for 2 tonight. Check swing did not go. Sooners came in with 43 home runs on the season. They are adding to that total tonight. 7 of those 8 hits for extra bases, the home runs and a double.
Activity now in the Sooners bullpen as well, as they've got a right-hander beginning to work.
The only other ball game this season in which Andrew Morris did not get a win and the Red Raiders did not win the ball game was against TCU. Red Raiders lost that game 7-4. It's 7-4 here in Lubbock.
Trevin Michael is the right-hander loosening for the Sooners. He's their closer.
Now ball 4 to Clark. First walk of the night allowed by Andrew Morris. So the first 3 Sooners here in the 6th inning have all reached base. Treadaway and Crooks with the home runs, and now Clark walks. How short does that leash come now for Morris?
Well, he definitely had time to get those left-handers hot. You're at a stretch here. A couple of left-handers coming up, and Squires and Nicholas.
Squires is 0 for 2. He struck out in the 2nd, struck out in the 4th. Each time ended the innings. But bats now with a runner on, nobody out, 2 runs in for Oklahoma, and a 3-run advantage.
And Morris looking for a double play ball.
Sooners turn to double play against the Red Raiders in the 4th. Red Raiders have turned the double play 21 times. Out of play, up and over the screen behind home plate.
Foul ball.
Nothing in 2 to Squires. Pitch on the way is up. Sooners do have a couple of stolen bases in this ball game. That was Kendall Pettis back in the 3rd. Swiped 2nd and 3rd and scored on an infield ground ball.
Yeah, that was the ultimate in manufacturing a run around all these other home runs.
Yeah. Squires hangs in there, a .366 hitter coming into the ball game. He's hit 5 out of the ballpark this season, driven in 26. That ball is hit well to left field as well. The question is it going to drift foul or fair? And it's a fair ball, home run. The co-Big 12 Player of the Week.
Enough of them in Amarillo to know they can swing it.
Yeah, they won that game over the Red Raiders 14-9. It did not count in Big 12 standings. But they are trying to get back to that number this evening as well. So Jamie hit on to face Jackson Nicholas, who's got one of those home runs. A 2-for-2 night working for the Sooners second baseman. He also singled in the 5th inning and scored. Hit on to try and put out a fire here. Freshman out of Magnolia.
Fastball in at 91 on the stadium radar gun, 90 and 91 on the first 2 deliveries.
Got him looking. Hit comes in to strike out Nicholas for out number 1 here in the top of the 6th. But prior to that, 4 of the previous 6 Sooners had hit home runs, all off of Andrew Morris. This is a nice pitch.
Yes, indeed. First breaking ball of the night, drops in for the strike, freezing Nicholas.
Now Kendall Pettis, who's 1 for 2, singled and scored in the 3rd, and was out attempting to bunt in the 5th inning. Morris came off the mound to field that ball and outraced Pettis over to first base. Cold strike 2 to Pettis. Boy, made an outstanding play in an otherwise forgettable night for Oklahoma in their game against Wichita State on Monday. Went up over the wall, reaching to bring back what would have been a shocker home run.
Yeah, true highlight reel play there.
And had the Sooners' only hit in that game. And tonight, 9 hits against Red Raider pitching, 6 home runs. Pettis has hit one pretty well as well. Drifting back on it, Morel. He's at the wall, reaches up and makes the play. Wow, that one nearly got out of here, but Morel on the warning track, able to bring it down for out number 2.
You know, John, we talked about the wind earlier. Not by no means the windiest day that we've played in this year, by not even close. And as appears to be the case so often, as it sun sets, it gets darker, temperatures cool off, and the wind dies down. The one flag barely moving now.
Top of the order here, and Spikerman has his second hit of the night. Lines that ball into right field. his home run to lead off the ball game, the first of the night for Oklahoma, but he's had plenty of teammates to follow him. But a 2-out single, and now Peyton Graham. He's got one of those 6 home runs.
Spikerman listed on their roster as a switch hitter, but obviously hitting left-handed there. Gets the left-hander hit.
Those 6 home runs by 6 different Sooner batters. Spikerman, Graham has a home run. Treadaway a home run. Crooks a home run. Squires a home run. And Nicholas a home run. That ball hit sky high into left field. Morrell is going to settle underneath it, and that ends the inning for Oklahoma. But 3 home runs.
3 zeros ever since. He's been very good.
Red Raiders have sent only 10 batters to the plate in the last 3 innings and have not scored. And in that time, Oklahoma has put 8 runs on the scoreboard. All of those against Tech starter Andrew Morris, who is on the hook, could lose for the first time this season. It's Washburn, White, and Kelly. That's 6, 7, and 8 in the Red Raider batting order, due up here in the 6th inning. The Red Raiders have some catching up to do, down by 5. That's hit pretty well by Washburn to center field, but Treadaway is waving off Pettis, who was coming over from left field to make the play, and that's a long fly ball out.
Now batting for the Red Raiders, number 5, Hudson White.
Red Raiders had back-to-back doubles and a home run in the first inning, but they have been mostly silenced by Jake Bennett since that time. Hudson White is 0 for 2. That first pitch fouled out of play. Hudson struck out in the first. He popped up to Graham at shortstop in the 3rd.
The activity continues in the Sooner bullpen. A right-hander works. A couple of right-handers working.
If Oklahoma hangs on to win this ball game, it means TCU will do no worse than sharing a portion of the Big 12 championship. On the ground, and Nicholas out near second base, over to Robertson in time, and the Red Raiders have 2 away.
Yeah, they'll be dancing in the streets in Fort Worth.
Hey, Tech fans, you can get an inside look into the Joey McGuire era in The Brand, the 4-episode docuseries showcasing Coach Joey McGuire's first spring practice as Texas Tech head coach. Includes exclusive looks inside spring drills, as well as 30-plus interviews from coaches and players. The first of 4 episodes debuting this coming Tuesday, May the 24th at 7 o'clock Central Time, right here on Big 12 Now on ESPN+. Joey McGuire were here, Gus, he'd be saying, hey, let's go. Let's get going.
Be leading the Raider power, wouldn't he?
A little bit of that. Here's Parker Kelly. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Flied out to right field and nubbed one down to Robertson at first base.
Bennett wobbled around a little bit in his first couple innings. It felt like the pitch count might get up there and fatigue might be an issue, but man, he has settled in and been outstanding. Up around 100 here, but still rolling right along.
Getting close to that. Big swing and a miss by Parker Kelly, now 2-2. Yeah, 104 pitches against Kansas State earlier this season, the most thrown by Bennett this year. And with their closer warming in the bullpen out in left field and a 5-run lead, this might be it. Might be the final batter, final inning for Bennett. Got Kelly swinging. And Jamie hit on here in the 7th inning to try and shut down the Oklahoma offensive attack and give the Red Raiders an opportunity. Gus, both these teams are really good late in games with leads, not giving it up. The Red Raiders are 5 runs in arrears to the Sooners right now.
Yeah, the Red Raiders are going to have to hang some zeros here, playing from this far behind. It's a big number. OU with a loaded bullpen right now.
Blake Robertson to lead off here in the 3-hole, 3, 4, and 5. He's 1 for 3 tonight, has a double in the 3rd. He's lined out and grounded out.
Trevin Michael continues to work in the Sooner bullpen. He's been up for a while now.
Robertson out of Prosper. Big guy at 6'5", about 215, sophomore. Mentioned earlier he was 5 for 6 in that game against the Red Raiders in Amarillo earlier this season. Everybody got a chance in that one, Gus.
That was a night where the wind was just screaming straight out too, and that ballpark in downtown Amarillo was really offensive. Prevailing winds usually blowing out. It is a hitter's ballpark, and it was that night for sure because the wind was screaming. 23 runs scored.
Yeah, Red Raiders used 9 pitchers in the game. Oklahoma used 7. And Jamie Hitt gets Robertson looking there at a called strike 3. Both strikeouts in this ball game by Hitt have been looking.
Yeah, Hitt spinning a breaking ball there. Robertson thought that pitch was in off the plate, obviously, based on the look he gives John Brammer there.
Here's Tanner Treadaway, the Sooners center fielder. Was 0 for 2 on the night until the 6th inning. He led off with a home run. And Crooks on deck followed with a solo home run. A walk to Clark and then a 2-run homer by Brett Squires. That sent Andrew Morris to the Red Raider dugout and brought Hitt into the ball game. One and one now to the Sooners center fielder. He's got 50 RBIs now on the season. That ball hit really well into the gap in left center field, drops down in front of Morrell. Tanner Treadaway's got a 2-hit night.
Off the bat, John, I thought that ball had a little more carry to it, but I think he got it out on the end. Able to dump it into left center field for the base hit.
Earlier this season, Treadaway had a 15-game hitting streak. Has started a new one tonight. A lot of Sooners starting a new hit streak tonight after the 1-hit performance by Wichita State. Here's Crooks, had struck out his first 2 trips and then homered in the 6th inning. Big swing and a miss at that off-speed pitch from Jamie Hitt. One out here in the top of the 7th. Oklahoma leading by 5.
Little infield for the Red Raiders pinching. They're looking for a double play ball.
Red Raiders hoping for that. They really hoping that their bats come alive. Sooners like to run. Second in the Big 12 in stolen bases, but Gus, tonight they're trotting around the bases.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Bunch of home runs. They have flipped the script on the Red Raiders. Treadaway, one of the really good base stealers on this ball club over there at first. 18 bags and 22 attempts.
Do you run with the 5-run lead?
Well, I think you do. Whether you run on an 0-2 count, hard to say. Typically, it's not a great count to run on because it's an easy count on which to pitch out.
There he goes. Ground ball foul by Crooks.
Tim talked about veteran core to their offensive group. They've got a good one.
Nothing in 2 to catcher Jimmy Crooks. 11 hits now for Oklahoma. Red Raiders started Big 12 play going 7-2, then were swept at TCU, but since that time have won 7 of 9 games in the Big 12. Oklahoma had a bit of a slow start, but they have battled back, having won the last 4 series, including a series against the Frogs. But at TCU, they would certainly celebrate an Oklahoma win this evening, because that means the Frogs would do no worse than sharing the Big 12 Conference Championship. Red Raiders could be a part of that if they come back, if they do not win tonight and then win games 2 and 3. Oklahoma needs to sweep the series to get to 16 wins.
Oklahoma State all over Baylor 9-3 after 6 innings down there in Waco.
They need to sweep the Bears in order to get to 16 wins and grab a piece of that Big 12 championship.
I think without Kansas taking a couple ball games in Austin, I believe Baylor will be the 8 seed.
Got him there. Crooks had fouled off a couple of pitches, but Hitt comes back with the fastball on the corner and got him looking. All 3 of his strikeouts now since coming in relief of Andrew Morris have caught Sooner batters looking.
Yeah, this fastball, it's a pretty good chunk of the strike zone. Crooks not happy about that. He'd done a good job of staying in that count, fighting off pitches. A lot of pick attempts in that sequence over there at first, and then he takes a pretty hittable pitch.
Throw to first as Treadaway was taking off to second base. Throw there, not in time, and he's come around third, coming home. Throw is not going to be in time. And on that attempted pickoff play, Treadaway goes from first all the way around to home after the Red Raiders threw that ball into left center field, trying to get him at second base.
Yeah, and that'll go as a stolen base there, and Wilson probably should have caught that ball. It looked like it was a throw that wasn't in the dirt, and you could see Jace saying, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Sure enough, Treadaway gets the green light at third and beats the throw.
Well, they were just sending him around third base, and you can probably do that with a 5-run advantage, and it's now 10-4 Oklahoma.
Yeah, and especially with 2 outs. You got this big lead, and you got 2 outs in the inning. Nothing else really going on. Why not? Push the envelope there.
And they do with 2 outs and add another run to their lead. Red Raiders have been charged with an error.
Yeah, it's got to be somebody's error. And Treadaway did a good job. He was moving on first. He was running on the first move by hit. As soon as he picked his foot up, he was gone, whether he was going to the plate or to the bag. He ran inside the bag down there to second to make the throwing lane tough for Stillwell. And again, that's what I was talking about. Perhaps Wilson was screened a little bit, who knows, but the ball ticked off his glove. Rolled out into shallow center field, and I think that's also a product of these Red Raider outfielders playing very deep.
Ball 4 to Clark. He's walked for the 2nd time in this game, and 2nd consecutive time. He's the only Oklahoma Sooner batter to walk this evening. And now Brett Squires, who following a walk to Clark in the 6th inning, blasted one out of here for a home run. Made it 9-4 at the time. Sooners have added 1 more on that play a moment ago when Treadaway took off for second base and the Red Raiders threw the ball away. Sooners did not score in the 2nd, did not score in the 4th, but they have scored in every other inning tonight.
Yeah, this is the first inning in which they've scored that they don't have a home run.
Yet. Squires at the plate is their DH. He homered in the last inning. Swinging for the fence there. The ball got away from Hudson White. Down to second base goes Clark. Nothing in 1 to Squires. Strike 2 now. There are 2 outs. Hit in relief of Morris has struck out 3. That run a moment ago, the first allowed since he has come into the ball game. That 0-2 pitch hit sky high on the infield. Stillwell calling for it at first base. Now under drift as the ball started to get away from him and wound up a lot closer to Jay for the 7th inning. Top of the order, and Easton Morrell is at the plate. 0 for 2 tonight, but he has been hit by a pitch to reach base.
And Coach Johnson would love to milk a couple more outs out of Jake Bennett and perhaps save bullpen. Not that you're necessarily saving it tonight, but you may be saving a guy that could be working late in the ball game on Saturday in Game 3 of this series. Morrell frustrated with himself as he chases the delivery down and off the plate there.
"35 wins this season by the Red Raiders, 31 by Oklahoma. Bennett had retired 6 straight Red Raider hitters. Now he's hit Easton Morrell for the. So now Cole Stillwell. He does have 2 hits. He also singled in the 2nd inning. He's got a runner in scoring position and Dylan Carter at second base. And Morrell at first after being hit by a pitch. not holding Carter at second base. Cole fouls that ball off. Seven hits tonight by the Red Raiders. Ty Coleman has a home run. Young and Stillwell each with doubles. Two and one now to the Red Raider first baseman. Atwood, a sophomore out of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Oklahoma has turned a double play in this ball game. It ended the Red Raiders' fourth.
And it was Cole Stillwell who hit into that double play. And they're shifting him like that again here. Really strong pull side shift in the infield.
That inning as well, Morrell before him had also been hit by a pitch to get on base. Cole's ground ball to third. In that inning started that double play. He hits one a mile high into left field. Pettis is drifting out near the warning track, but he'll make the catch there. Dylan Carter tagged at second, but he will stay there. Stillwell just missing a 3-run homer. That would have helped the Red Raider cause.
Yeah, they would love to get a crooked number right here and get back in this ball game. Playing down 6 at the moment. Got just the guy for it. Right here in Jace Young.
Stillwell got close, maybe just underneath that one a little bit, and sent Pettis to the warning track. And now Jace Young, who doubled in the first, walked in the second, lined out to center field in the fifth.
That fastball in at 92 on the stadium radar gun, and they're going to put that heavy pull side shift on in the infield. Nicholas will hold his ground. He won't jump out into that shallow right field rover mode. Peyton Graham playing on the second base side of the bag, or the second baseman side of second base. He's out of your picture. Big hole on the left side of the infield.
Atwood bounced that one in. Young telling Dylan Carter to stay at second base.
Yeah, Crook's doing a good job of keeping that in front. Again, down 6 runs. An extra 90 feet right here isn't going to matter a whole bunch. Especially not with a guy like Jace Young at the plate.
Best hitter in this Red Raider lineup at advancing runners is Jace Young. He's got 70 hits, or 70 runners advanced throughout the course of the season. But I don't think anybody else on this lineup who you'd want at the plate trying to get a rally going is other than Jace Young. Cold strike, 2-1. His biggest at-bat at home this season might have been that 3-run homer in the bottom of the ninth against Kansas State to walk it off and win 7-6.
Yeah, Kansas State had a chance to win that ball game.
That one might be out of here if it's fair. Drifting near the foul pole there, and it's on the wrong side. Man, that was close.
Squires hit one to left field that was like that. It had a lot more distance. It was less of a line shot. This one, Jace Young trying the right field foul pole, but you could see that ball hooking at the very end.
Spikerman kind of pushing it foul as he was running that direction. Swing and a miss. And Jace Young strikes out.
Jace expanding the strike zone a little bit there. That's just a fastball down and in. Probably a little off the plate.
First strikeout for Atwood, and he's done his job coming in relief of Jake Bennett. Got Stillwell to fly out, and now Jace Young to strike out. He came on with 2 on and nobody out. The Red Raiders have not moved the runners along. Now Ty Coleman hit that 2-run homer in the first following Jace Young's double. It was 3-1 at that time. But Oklahoma has outscored the Red Raiders 9-1 since and lead 10-4. Red Raider fans don't like that call. 0-2 to Ty Coleman. Coleman's only 5'8". Gus, that looked way up.
Yeah, I don't think Ty liked the call. Now he'll be working out of an 0-2 count here. Atwood trying to get the outside corner with a breaking ball.
Since that home run, Coleman has flied out to right field and grounded out to third.
And John, as predicted, the wind has laid down. The 2 flags barely ruffling out in center field.
Atwood's 1-2 pitch on the way. Hit pretty hard. It'll not quite find a hole between second and third as Peyton Graham ran it down. He tried to.
Wilson would like right here.
First pitch from Michael is up. A graduate transfer from Lamar. Played his high school baseball in Piedmont, Oklahoma. Kurt Wilson does have one of the Red Raiders' 7 grand slams this season. And he hits that one a mile high into center field. I don't know if Treadway can run it down. He's at the wall. Reach it.
To see Garrett Crowley in the strike zone here.
6'3", 220-pound junior out of the Queens, New York. Gus mentioned a transfer from Fordham. Red Raiders came ever so close to narrowing the gap just a moment ago on that long fly ball by Kurt Wilson. That would have made things very different had that ball left the yard.
Yeah, it'd be a 2-run ball game, and this ballpark would be buzzing, no doubt. Most famous Fordham baseball alumnus, John Harris, Mr. Vin Scully.
Wow.
That's a pretty good one there, isn't it?
That is. Crowley having a little trouble finding the strike zone here. Ball 4. Third walk allowed by Red Raider pitching tonight. First walk to a Sooner batter other than Wallace Clark, who walked twice in the game tonight. And now Nicholas leading off here in the 8th inning. 9-hole hitter Kendall Pettis at the plate. Showing bunt, called strike, attempted to bunt back in the 5th inning. Andrew Morris off the mound ran that bunt down between the mound and first base and then outran Pettis to first base for the out. Breaking ball, strike 2. Red Raiders have a long way to come back in this ball game, but Oklahoma this season, when leading after 8 innings, with that outstanding relief work out of the bullpen, are 25-1. That does not bode well. Swing and a miss by Pettis. He's out.
There's the Garrett Crowley we've heard about. Tim's talked about him being good over the last week or so. He established the breaking ball earlier in that sequence to Pettis and then pumps the fastball by him. And that'll get rid of that infinity ERA. I'm sure like the sound of that.
10 strikeouts tonight by Red Raider pitching, but in between the strikeouts, 6 home runs by Oklahoma and 11 hits overall. Spikerman led off the ball game with a home run for the Sooners. '89 on that cold strike. Jace Young just missed a home run in that 7th inning. Wilson's near grand slam comes down at the wall.
Yeah, Kurt needed to hit that one a couple innings ago when those flags were moving. That's all he needed was about, what, 2 more feet maybe?
He needed just a tiny push.
Just a little push. We just talked about how the wind has really died down here, which is kind of typical this time of year. Gets dark, cools off, the wind dies.
0-2 to Spikerman. Runner goes, chance to get him, but the Red Raiders can't get the throw in time. White's throw just a little bit late. Wilson covering, and Nicholas swipes second base.
Crowley gets Spikerman with the breaking ball there, but Nicholas moves into scoring position, and now it's Crowley versus Peyton Graham. A couple of good sequences there by Garrett Crowley, and that's good to see. It's been a struggle for him this spring.
Crowley walked Nicholas to start the inning, struck out Pettis, and now Spikerman, but Squires swiping second base. 4 stolen bases tonight by the Sooners.
Yes, indeed. And the first 3 have figured in big. The first 3 were Kendall Pettis stealing second and third, and eventually scoring on a little infield roller. And then later on, it was a stolen base by Treadaway.
A throwing error by the Red Raiders allowed him to go from first all the way around to score.
Yeah, you replay that as the 10th run for the Sooners, and then you put a little puff of wind behind that fly ball, and this is a 9-8 ball game. But I tell you what, that's also the talk of a team that's losing by 6 runs. That's how close it is usually.
Yeah. Called strike to Graham. Baseball, game of inches.
They probably all are. How many of those football replays do we see where we're dealing with literally an inch or 2 being the difference between a turnover or not?
Yeah.
Basketball the same way. Crowley pumps the fastball by Graham. Well, that's interesting because we've seen Graham just squash a couple of off-speed pitches. One for a fly ball to the wall in the first inning. Another one, a 3-1 breaking ball that he hit out of here, and he's been a little bit tardy to fastballs in some key spots, which tells me that he's probably been sitting breaker in a lot of these spots.
Thought about that, but the 3-2 pitch off the plate, and he's on with the walk.
Peyton Graham, a really good hitter. Good player. It's going to be fun to watch his career as he advances professionally.
Here's Blake Robertson. 1 for 4 tonight with a double. But an opportunity to add to that Oklahoma lead with 2 outs and 2 on here in the top of the 8th.
Oklahoma State leading Baylor 11-5 in the 7th. A big lead for the Cowboys. And that's the result they're looking for. West Virginia and Kansas State have gone final, and Morgantown, West Virginia, the big winner, 15-4. Texas all over the Jayhawks, 12-4 down there in Austin. They're playing in the 7th inning. Good off-speed pitch there by Crowley. The other score, TCU leading Santa Clara 7-4 in the 7th. And again, they're 11. This score, they're doing a little scoreboard watching down there in Fort Worth, because if the Sooners hang on here, TCU will have no worse than a share of the Big 12 championship. regular season championship, that is.
Crowley trying to strike out the side, and he did it right there.
2004 Holiday Bowl, caught a bunch of passes in Coach Leach's offense and was a very good player here. Played a couple years of professional baseball, wife, I believe 3 children. Really sad stuff there, but boy, the memory of Cody Puller is going to hang around for a long time.
Owen Washburn, Hudson White, Parker Kelly are due up for the Red Raiders. Trevin Michael for Oklahoma here. That single for Washburn back in the first inning. Red Raiders had the bases loaded in the bottom of the 7th, but Kurt Wilson hit a mile-high deep fly ball about 400 feet to center field, but it didn't clear the wall. That's popped up on the left side. Long run, but it's coming down out of play.
Not sure exactly how deep the fence is where he hit that ball, but Kurt Wilson hit it about 1 foot short of that number, whatever it is. If it's 395 out there, he hit it 394. Really a fairly routine play for Treadaway because, as you said, it was in the air so long, it was just a matter of him catching it. Didn't have to climb the wall or do anything, really.
Two and two to Washburn. Swing and a miss. Crooks dropped the ball, but the throw to first in time, and 1 out here in the Red Raiders' 8th inning.
Wash expanding the strike zone there. Chasing a pitch down and out of the zone.
Red Raiders will strike out a bit, but that's only the 6th strikeout of the night. Red Raiders put the ball in play, but the Sooners making the defensive plays.
Yep, Jake Bennett did a good job of staying off the barrel for the most part. Not a huge strikeout night for him as he pitched into the 7th inning, just the 4 strikeouts, but not a lot of loud contact either, especially not past the 2nd inning. And now when you think about this ball game and this pitcher's appearance as it plays into the rest of the weekend, the Sooners would love to have Trevin Michael finish this ball game up in a fairly economical fashion. Maybe 30, 35 pitches, something along that number. Think back to a game you referenced earlier, the Kansas State ball game, the final game of that series won by Jace Young with a big 3-run homer off of their closer. Their closer had to pitch and really extend on Friday night. They brought him back on Sunday, and he just wasn't the same. And you know that what can happen in game 1 can affect game 3, of course. And Michael has no doubt been their best arm out of the bullpen.
Big swing and a miss by White there. Michael gets him. That's 2 away here. And White looks completely baffled by that pitch.
Yeah, and that's a good 2-strike breaker. It looks like a fastball hanging over the outside corner and then disappears. Hudson White in protect mode, chases that for the 3rd strike.
Here's Parker Kelly, still looking for his first hit of the night, 0 for 3. Flied out to right in the 2nd. Grounded unassisted to Robertson at first base in the 4th and struck out in the 6th. Red Raiders have had some opportunities, but it has been mostly Oklahoma since the 1st inning of this game. Gus, it you'd say a lot of crooked numbers up there for Oklahoma.
Yeah, no doubt. Lots of 2s and 4s.
Parker Kelly hits that one into somewhat shallow right field. Spikerman misjudged that ball. Diving attempt, doesn't get it. Parker Kelly is going to be all the way around to 3rd base. I thought that ball off the bat, Gus, sounded a lot more well hit than it turns out to be. And I think maybe Spikerman got a late break on the ball. Kelly's not even running that hard down towards first base and then takes off after he sees the ball not caught.
Yeah, and I think Kelly was deceived by what I was seeing as well, which was Spikerman. It appeared to be, he appeared to be pulling up like he had a beat on that ball, and then really picks up his last 2 or 3 steps and kind of that sliding dive attempt there. He was just fighting that fly ball. Loop triple will work for Parker Kelly, obviously, and now Dylan Carter, who's been on 3 times tonight, needs to get on again for the Red Raiders.
Couple of singles by the Red Raiders center fielder, and he also reached on the only Oklahoma error of the night. But he's battling Michael now on an 0-2 count.
You know, there was some awkwardness in that swing there. And not so much the swing, but in the follow through. It looked like he had a little hitch and get along there. We'll see. Hopefully not for his sake.
Ground ball right back up the middle. Graham there near second base. Wow, close play.
10 in the 7th inning.
Wow.
How about that?
Wow.
How about some drama there? The new pitcher here, Jace Lopez for the Red Raiders. Jace has pitched 7 times on the year. He's only made 1 appearance in Big 12 play. Going 2/3 of an inning. That pitch shot into right field for the base hit by Tanner Treadaway.
Yeah. Treadaway hits it just out of the reach of Jace Young at second base. Treadaway's the guy at center field that caught that long fly ball by Wilson. That needed just a little bit more to get out of here and make this one really interesting. But leadoff hitter on here for Oklahoma in the top of the 9th inning. 3-hit night for Treadaway. Now Crooks, who's got a 3 strikeout night, but a home run as well. Hits that one into pretty deep left field, right at the corner. Up to make the play is Morrell. Wow, up against the wall in front of the Sooners bullpen, and hustling back to first is Treadaway, but that one had a chance to get out of here too. Watch Morrell here, Gus.
He is right in the corner, right on that bullpen gate. Lunges back and catches that against the fence. Crooks has already homered to almost that very spot earlier in this ball game. Here, flies out just in front of the wall.
Boy, very similar to the ball he caught off Peyton Graham in the first inning.
Yes, sir.
Hit it right out there, but that was when the wind was blowing out there about 30 miles an hour, or not that much. Throw down is not in time to get Treadaway. His 2nd stolen base of the night.
Treadaway with now 20 stolen bases on the year.
That was pretty close, but when that ball hopped up and Wilson tagged him up high, didn't get the glove down in front of the bag.
Yeah, and that little bit of a short hop is what you really, when you play a short hop like that, it's hard to not come up to get it. You're taught to start below the ball and then come up and get it, and then to bring the glove back down and apply the tag. It's just hard to do, and it's really tough on a bang bang play like that.
Wallace Clark tonight has walked a couple of times. Otherwise hit the ball to Jace Young at second base, once in the air, once on the ground.
Coach Tadlock has given a lot of credit to Sooner assistant Reggie Willits, and Willits for the last few years was in the dugout in the Bronx with the New York Yankees, and so you gotta believe he's carrying some of that Big 12 expertise and into the Sooners running game. And again, Coach Tadlock giving a lot of credit to Willits for how well they run this year.
Clark hit that one right to Parker Kelly at third, who forces Treadaway back to second and then gets the ball across the diamond to Stillwell in time.
he talked about Willits. Willits was a player for the Sooners back in the early 2000s and then played, I think, in parts of about 5 big league seasons and got into coaching and has now returned to Norman. I believe he's got some children that are school age and he wanted to be a little bit closer to home. Boy, he has impacted this Sooner ball club. If you believe Tim Tadlock, and I do.
Here's Brett Squires. Squires has a home run tonight, one of the 6 hit by the Sooners. Gus, both head coaches in this ball game tonight were assistants at Oklahoma.
Yes, indeed. Not together.
No.
Both of these guys Denton High School alums. Skip was 2 years ahead of Tim at Denton High School. They grew up playing Little League together and high school together. Good friends. Their paths have been pretty similar as well. A couple of junior college coaches. Tim talked about playing Skip, and this was in preparation for the game in Amarillo a month or so ago, and he talked about how when they were both junior college coaches, they'd wake up on Saturday, and if one of them had bad weather, boy, Treadaway running here with 2 outs and a left-handed hitter up there, basically hoping that White would throw one into left field, and that throw was going to get Treadaway, and Kelly just didn't handle the throw.
Yeah, he was going to be out there.
Yeah, Parker just rushing the tag a little bit, and doesn't handle the baseball, and now the count 2-1.
Treadaway's got 3 stolen bases. I think now the Sooners have 6 stolen bases, 6 home runs. Swing and a miss by Squires. Lopez is the 4th Red Raider pitcher tonight. Andrew Morris started. Jamie hit. Garrett Crowley. Now Lopez. The way this stands, Andrew Morris will, if the Red Raiders don't rally in the bottom of the 9th, will lose for the first time this year. A huge lead by Treadaway off at 3rd. Ground ball is fair. Parker Kelly dives to knock it down, is going to try to throw it across to 1st, but will not be in time. Outstanding play by Kelly just to get to that ball, but Treadaway scores and Squires is on with the 13th hit of the night for the Sooners.
Yeah, and the difficult part about this, it's a whale of an effort. He knocks it down, doesn't handle it cleanly, and then tries to throw from his backside. But if Treadaway's over at second base, you knock that ball down, you save a run.
Yeah.
But because the throw wasn't handled on the stolen base, and credit the Sooners for creating that pressure. They've been pushing the envelope all night.
Trying to get one more run. Well, and Treadaway in the 7th inning at first base was picked off of 1st, but took off for 2nd. Red Raiders threw the ball into the outfield off the glove of Wilson, and Treadaway came all the way on around to score. So their running game has certainly produced 3 of their 11 runs tonight for certain. Long ball has accounted for much of the rest.
Yeah, in the running game, you know, it's playing these guys in a sense of like playing West Virginia. You really just got to pitch through the running game because they're going to steal some bases. Maybe you'll throw a guy out or somewhere in there, but they're going to keep running. So the key is executing pitches around it and getting outs at the plate.
Yeah. Nicholas drives that ball into left field. Morrell one hops it. Throw coming to 3rd to Kelly. Not in time. In fact, it got away there. Lopez runs it down, but heading to 2nd on that throw to 3rd was Nicholas. And the Sooners with 2 outs have a couple of more runners in scoring position.
And for the Sooners, number 7, Kendall Pettis.
Squires didn't even slow down at second base. Morrell just a little bit tardy getting that ball back into the infield. Allowed him to get to 3rd, and that throw there allows Nicholas to go to 2nd. And now Kendall Pettis with 2 in scoring position takes a breaking ball for a called strike.
Yeah, Squires knew that that ball was hit sharply, and he knew that Morrell playing very deep out there. Morrell doesn't have a big throwing arm. With 2 outs, moving on contact and seeing Morrell moving laterally there, he just pushes the
kept going.
Yeah.
Kendall Pettis lines that one into right center field. Dylan Carter is there. Pettis is going to be out at second base to end the inning, but 2-run score. Squires and Nicholas.
Parker Kelly both sitting on 9 home runs. 2 guys that are a home run away from putting 4 Red Raiders in double-digit home runs this year. We were talking earlier, though, about Birdsell and Hampton. You can bet that these Sooner hitters are going to continue to be a challenge all weekend. There's some tough outs in this lineup.
Morrell hits that ball out a moment ago after he was hit by pitches his last 2 trips to the plate. Got tired of getting hit, got one. Red Raiders trail at 13-5 now. The Sooners have their best closer on the mound. Best thing for Tim Tadlock's team is to extend this rally and see how many pitches Michael might throw before he ends this ball game or Oklahoma decides to get him out of there.
Yeah, and I'm sure Coach Johnson, his staff know exactly the number to be able to bring Michael back with a certain level of effectiveness, perhaps tomorrow for sure. In Game 3 on Saturday, the luxury of playing up 8 runs here, even if he gives up a few base runners and they have to take him out, they can protect his pitch count here and probably not jeopardize the final result of this ball game. We shall see.
Red Raiders' biggest inning of the year, by the way, against New Mexico back on March the 15th, when the Red Raiders scored 16 runs in the second inning of that game. They don't need quite that many tonight, but they need a bunch.
And there is a right-hander working in the Sooner bullpen. There's a look at big number 45, Ben Abrams, 6'7", 243-pounder.
Going to bring another tight end in the ball game. Here's Cole Stillwell, grounds that ball back up the middle. Nicholas got to it and deflected it. It went on out into the outfield, and Stillwell hustles down to second base.
Yeah, that'll probably go as a double because Nicholas doing all he can to get some leather on that ball. In the end, probably helps the Red Raiders.
Yeah, he knocks that ball away from anybody else. Otherwise, Treadaway's picking it up in center field, and Cole Stillwell's at first base. Here's Jace Young, struck out on his last at-bat in that series. Hit one out of here, but foul down the right field line. 84 on that breaking ball for a cold strike from Michael.
He was facing Carson Atwood in the previous at-bat, and boy, that was a big at-bat in that sequence.
Yeah, Young struck out, then Ty Coleman reached to load the bases on a ground ball. He hit to third, and a force play not made there, and then Kurt Wilson, with the bases loaded, flied out to the wall in center field. Wilson might get another chance here in the bottom of the ninth. Jace on that one fouled it straight back. Jace and Kurt Wilson are the only Red Raiders to have started every game this season. All 52 of them. Oh, breaking ball got Jace looking.
Texas has won their ball game over Kansas 12-4 down in Austin tonight.
Breaking ball to Coleman. After that home run back in the first inning, Ty has flied out to right, grounded out to third, and reached on a fielder's choice. On the corner for a cold strike, now 0-2.
Oklahoma State and Baylor now tied at 11 in the 8th inning.
Cowboys have to sweep in order to have an opportunity to tie TCU for the league title.
TCU has won their ball game over Santa Clara tonight. They're in Fort Worth 7-6. Again, that ball game having no bearing on the conference standings. The only one that matters here tonight is this one and the game down in Waco, or this weekend, not just tonight, but this weekend.
Frogs are pulling the Bears.
Can't say that very often either.
No.
That's not a routine.
And they're pulling for Oklahoma in this one.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
after tonight, they become Red Raider fans if Texas Tech does not rally to win.
West Virginia beat Kansas State today up in Morgantown 15-4. That's the other conference game.
Ground ball. The shift was on for Coleman. Nicholas can't get to this ball. It's a single into right field, and the Red Raiders are going to score a run as Stillwell comes around from second. So the Red Raiders have 2 here in the bottom of the 9th inning.
That is not the first time we've seen Coleman push a ball through the right side. We talked about that earlier. He did it twice against West Virginia, who shifted him like this. Hit little rollers like that through the right side.
Trying to work the corner, and he just poked it through on the other side.
No doubt.
Here's Kurt Wilson, 0 for 4 tonight.
Boy, it was his at bat that Wilson's at bat to end the 7th inning. Red Raiders down 10-8 at the time. Bases loaded, 2 out, and he flew out about as deep as you can fly out and still make an out in this ballpark.
Yeah.
Not Reggie Treadaway. Well, that's another baseball name. Tanner Treadaway caught that ball in the deepest part of left center field with his hand on the wall to end that inning and end the threat.
Kurt does have 12 home runs this season. It has driven in 60. Red Raiders would like him to make it 62. 1 out here, bottom of the 9th. Red Raiders trail by 7 runs. Morrell led off with a home run, Stillwell a double. Jace Young struck out, but a single by Ty Coleman scored Stillwell. Gus, sometimes outs in the 9th inning are hard to come by.
Yeah. Yep.
And now you look at those 3 runs that Oklahoma scored in the top of the 9th.
Yep, those were big ones.
Those are huge. Wilson hits it well into the gap in left center field. It's going to get down. Pettis could not get there. Coleman's not the fastest Red Raider. He'll stop at third, but a double for Kurt Wilson. And the Red Raiders have a couple of runners in scoring position.
Yeah, and playing down this much, there's no need to really push the issue and try to stretch a run there. This ball hit really well. Not beyond Pettis, who was ranging deep out into left center field. At one hops off the wall. Coach Thomas there holding Coleman the entire way. Again, you're playing down 7 runs. There's no need to try to push something.
Here's the Big 12 newcomer of the week, Owen Washburn, the Red Raider freshman out of Webster, Wisconsin. Had 6 hits in the series, batted .400 against Oklahoma State. A grand slam against the Cowboys in Game 2. 7 runs driven in that series that the Red Raiders swept in Stillwater. He's 1 for 4 tonight. Sooner pitching has just seemed to keep him. Junior out of Georgetown,
yeah,
Ontario.
Absolutely, yeah. You talked about that. Big Canadian. Washburn. Big league pedigree. His dad was quite a major league player, pitcher.
Breaking ball called strike, now 2-2 against the Red Raiders freshman right fielder. Average just over 300 at 305 coming in tonight. Hits that one into left field, gets down in front of Pettis, that'll score a run. Coleman scores for the Red Raiders.
All task, but there it is.
And that's Easton Morrell, who led off the inning with a home run. This ball blooped down the right field line. If it drops in, oh, it's foul. If it had been fair, it would have scored a run. But just a bit fouled on the right field side.
The Sooners are hunting a double play ball. They are one swing away from ending this ball game.
Turned to double play back in the fourth inning to end a Red Raider threat at that time.
Shading wide around to right field in the outfield.
Hits that one right at second baseman Nicholas. Can't go to second. Kind of lost the handle on the ball for a moment, but does get Hudson White at first base for out number 2. Owen Washburn is safe down at second base. Wilson scores. So the Red Raiders have made it 13-8.
And that's really all the Sooners care about is the out right there. I mean, yes, a double play would have been fantastic and ending the ball game, but right there you're trading that run for an out all day long.
And now Parker Kelly, who tripled back in the 8th inning, ground ball to his counterpart at third. Clark. Throw across the diamond is in time.